I think the most common mistake is not preparing early enough, not starting early enough. I always say you can't be strategic if you're rushed or if you're up against a deadline. You really need to give yourself as much time as possible.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today I'm joined by Brittany Waterson, who is our Senior Creative Strategy Manager here at CTC. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about BFCM and holiday planning, just kind of all around Q4 creative strategy. And before we get started, I wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself, Brittany. So tell the people about yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Brittany Waterson. I am a Senior Creative Strategy Manager here at CTC. I'm relatively new to the company, but I have about 10 years of content strategy experience and 8 of those specifically in beauty.
Awesome. Well, we're super stoked to have you here, and I think it's going to be really fun to just jam on some BFCM stuff. This felt like the perfect time, honestly, to just do this because we're both actually in the trenches, you could say, planning for Black Friday right now across several really large clients together that are spending $1 million+ next month. So I think it'll be really cool to give the viewers context and like how these even like larger creative productions actually can be, like how they work. First question I wanted to ask you is, as a creative strategist, how do you stay organized during this time? And for context, I know there's a lot of deadlines and pressure, especially from clients, creative approvals internally between clients to create high quality ads that perform, right? So do you have advice for brands or creative strategists that themselves are just dealing with all of this right now? How do you keep it under control?
My biggest, I think, point of advice is to start early. Max and I work together, and Max knows that I like to be as far ahead as possible. There's tons of different deadlines, like you mentioned. There's different sale periods, like, you have your early bird, you've got your pre-Black Friday, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And for me, working ahead allows me the time to be strategic, to brief really great ads, and to take the time to get them created, get them through rounds of approval. Yeah, that's basically kind of my strategy. I like to work as far ahead as possible. So basically being over prepared and planning as far ahead as you can is definitely my piece of advice.
That's super cool. And for people who watch the channel also, I feel like the little Easter egg in there was also like the early bird, actual Black Friday moment, and then, Cyber Monday, and then going into holiday after. And so that's very much with like the 4 peaks of the 4th peak theory that we all have talked about and heard a lot on this channel. Definitely aligning all in that and having just the marketing calendar dialed in and actually knowing what's happening between what the client wants and what we're suggesting for our strategy is all great. Next question is, how do you approach the creative process differently during the holiday season in particular? And so this can include like BFCM for sure. More speaking directly to like when you get into Q4 post Black Friday, is there anything particular?
I really rely on historical data. I like to look at what performed well last year and begin to kind of craft my strategy from there. I also think about my KPI here, which is to convert its sales, right? So knowing that, I'm going to lean more heavily into creating stills over videos, which in my opinion tend to still kind of promote click-through rate over a video, which is you're not, as inclined to click. And I also know that numbers are king. So ads with the percentage amount prominently displayed on the creative, they're going to perform. Everybody loves a deal. And because of that, I want to make it as easy and as clear for the potential customer to stop, pause, and read the deal on the ad. Another approach for Black Friday, Cyber Monday specifically, is sort of less about individual products and more about like the offer itself. For the most part, people are looking for a deal. Everyone knows what time it is. So let's give them that in the clearest, most simpler terms.
Yeah, that's really great advice. That kind of goes directly into the idea of just putting the offer like smack on the ad. And some ads that I see perform really well, and this is going to go into the next question of like ad concepts and angles. The ones that do the best are literally like, they don't even have a product in it, but some large offer bold straight across the top of the ad. And you don't even need to show it because a lot of times, especially with how we run our Facebook ad accounts, it's going to be like an acquisition campaign, which means you're only excluding past purchasers and you're going to be pushing to both cold prospects and remarketing within the same campaign. And so during BFCM and also into holiday, this is the time of year where we're going to be heaviest in remarketing. Whether or not, honestly, we want it to be too, it's just going to happen within our prospecting campaign. And also you're going to have intentional remarketing dollars as well. So I think that ties directly into the creative strategy concepts you're talking about here too. And just making sure it's like super clear. And so that people are going to say, okay, here's the brand name, here's the huge offer, click to the website. My next question ties directly into that. What are the most popular ad concepts and angles that you use during Black Friday, Cyber Monday? I know during BFCM, it ends up being a lot of straight up offers like we just talked about. Are there any specific ways that you consistently do this to make sure it works across various brands? Are there kind of like cookie cutter examples, I guess, or are there any just specific things or ways that you think about structuring the ad creatives?
Definitely. I think dynamic product frames are a great way to kind of reinforce your deal messaging. It's a relatively low lift with a high return that you can simply do. And you can do that across any brand, across any product or service. Another great one, like you just mentioned, is straight up graphic, like text. Don't necessarily even need an image like of the product. It could be a plain background with just the deal and the offer, boldly kind of displayed. Another type of ad that would be interesting to like explore for Black Friday, Cyber Monday is gift guides, holiday guides, things like that. I think largely here, you're going to rely on those deal first type of creatives.
Yeah, 100%. So to pivot into that next thing you talked about is what are the most popular ad concepts or angles for the holidays? So this is after Black Friday, after we're done with like the huge offer. And there's still going to be big holiday moments in sales, but I think that you can actually generate more margin by just having really strong gifting and holiday offers. Are there any ones that you find do really well in specific niches? I know that's a very general question, but I know there's always like gifting for your wife, husband, girlfriend, mother, father, etc. Like, or I'm done trying to find gifts for my husband, like funny angles like that. Any cool insights you have there?
Yeah, so I think what's great about the kind of gift guide concept is that you're able to tell a little bit more of a story, whereas Black Friday, Cyber Monday is really all about that deal and it's all about those numbers. Holiday kind of allows you to bring it back, reel it in a little bit, and kind of connect back to the brand and connect back to the core products. Tell a little bit more of a story. Yes, you can go for those classic gift guides for your mom, dad, but something that's really interesting and maybe eye-catching is going for something more niche, like gifts for like the sports fan or gifts for the beauty lover. Kind of playing into those categories, popular types of trends and types of people might give you an edge or might give you like a thumb-stopping kind of asset. Another kind of like, I guess, sub-bullet point of that would be like stocking stuffers. That's another great one. Playing into maybe limited edition or limited time only is another kind of way to play into that FOMO trend and still get that kind of urgency. And then of course you might have more sales. And then under the sales type of umbrella, you can go limited time offer again, or that type of messaging that's creating urgency that's like, we only do this once a year, or we never have sale. Those are also a good one if you're going to have more sales after Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Something I actually want to reiterate that you said that I think is really, really smart is being persona specific when it comes to improving. You said improving thumb stop or just like click-through rate, but I also think about it from like an advertising targeting standpoint. We talk about broad targeting. That's what we use exclusively across the board. And the creative we know does the targeting. So you are able to actually expand out the target personas that you're speaking to by directly saying like, hey, this is for beauty lovers in particular. That's going to hook the right audience that you're looking for. That's what I always tell advertisers, marketers, creative strategists who are trying to expand out their targeting or feel as though they've like almost tapped out a certain audience, is to go into other audiences by simply speaking directly to them. And I think the holiday season is the easiest time to do that in the exact way that you said. So that's really cool. Next question is, what are the most common mistakes you see people make that really slows down the creative process during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, especially in these times of just really high output where you kind of need to make sure that you're hitting these deadlines? Ever experienced anything personally, any unexpected challenges during BFCM?
Yeah, so I think the most common mistake is not preparing early enough, not starting early enough. I always say you can't be strategic if you're rushed or if you're up against a deadline. You really need to give yourself as much time as possible to strategize, look at past performance, look at competitors, and then you can start, crafting that strategy. We know things take time. We know design and production and trafficking take time. So the earlier you're able to start, the better.
100%. Do you feel like there's a certain spot where there's usually a bottleneck, or does it really depend on the process? Like if you were to build a perfect creative system, I guess what would that look like to make sure you have all the steps in place?
Biggest challenge I would say is actually getting assets and things from clients and getting the clients to decide their promo on time and not decide it in November. If everyone could decide their, Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals October 1st and send us assets by October 1st, that would be my dream world. Again, I want to take time, I want to prepare, and I want to be able to really craft a smart strategy. And I need the time to do that.
Great advice. And I'm hopeful that for anyone watching this now, if they're they've already taken this
Yes.
advice, even though we're giving it a little bit late, I guess. In that, I think that's really good to know, just even beyond BFCM and the holiday period, especially honestly going into Q1, because Q1 usually see a pretty big lift, especially with like New Year's shopping, similar like angle. As November wraps up, as you're getting holiday briefs all out, is starting to already think about the future. So I love that. I'm definitely a proactive person as well. And it does help come up with the best concepts because you actually have the time to do like the brunt of marketing research and really make sure that you have good offers and angles and concepts so that you're not just being like, oh, what should I throw up in January or something like that. So
Absolutely.
for the next question, for post-holiday analysis and future planning, how do you analyze the performance of your holiday campaigns and your Black Friday campaign? And how do you use that to apply it for future planning? And I know we just talked about even thinking forward to Q1. How do we apply previous learnings into Black Friday? And then also, how do we apply Black Friday learnings going into the holidays and future sale moments in general?
From a quantitative perspective, I like to look at ADA metrics. That's kind of what we talk about here at CTC. I'm looking at, average watch time, stopping rate, ROAS, click-through rate, and I'm also looking at CPA. From a qualitative perspective, I like to look at themes and patterns in top performers to try to understand why the ad creative worked so well, and to see, what I can replicate and what I can iterate on for future holiday or sale moments. For example, right now we're running an early bird sale, and I am going to take any and all learnings that I can and apply that into my Black Friday creative for the same brand. It's going to be a tight turnaround, but I'm going to try. Like I said, like starting early and taking the time. But here in this instance, we're going to try and apply as many learnings as possible.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm interested in hearing how you look at learnings differently from different ad formats. So like you just said, for example, you may look at a format that worked really well during BFCM. I guess you said more for like the sale that's happening now, early bird, and then translate that format into Black Friday. Even though it is a fast turnaround, but it could be really worth it if you know that this format just like connects with your audience super well for whatever reason. Is there a really big difference though between the learnings from a video and static image? I think the static image is a lot easier to like almost templatize and say, oh, maybe if it worked in this niche on this brand, it'll actually translate into another brand as well for creative strategists working across multiple verticals, for example. I'm curious because I feel like videos are always the hardest to like really pin down exactly what worked about it or how to translate that into other ads.
That's a great question, and it's tough. And I think like the buzzword of the moment is lo-fi content. Max and I have talked about this. I think that that's like a super big trend right now, and that's something that I think that we're seeing perform best. I also kind of find that brand produced imagery like in still form tends to perform well, whereas in video, I think viewers appreciate more of the lo-fi content. So that's something that I'm sort of finding. It's like an interesting take, but yeah, I'm standing by it for right now.
No, it definitely is. And then there's even like and this is directly pulling from something we're working on together in one of our brands that's almost like a mixture of the two. It's like lo-fi imagery pulled from like UGC content in a way.
Paired with brand content, and that actually is performing well.
I think it almost like looks branded, but at the same time lo-fi, which I don't know if that's easy to describe without showing an example, but it definitely is a cool hybrid format that has been doing well for us in some scenarios. And it's actually very simple. I feel like it's a really easy thing to produce a lot of versions of. And then also when it comes to the branded static images, like you said, especially if it does perform well, it is easy to create lots of iterations. And I don't love leaning into like the word iterative that much these days, because I feel like we know with the idea of creative diversification, which is kind of like the big buzzword this Black Friday, is that you actually want to have as many different ad formats as possible, being different formats, visually, different messaging, because Facebook may identify a format that looks the same as another ad as the same ad creative. And this is something we learned from the Meta Roadshow we just went to recently. And so keeping that in mind, I think it's really important to make sure that when you're making iterations, trying to actually differentiate them in some way, especially when it comes down to like, if it is the same status, having like very different messaging. And I think you do a really good job at that, especially with when we do have iterative concepts. It's like, what are we trying to learn? Like which messaging actually works the best for this product and the way that we're presenting it to to the customer.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. There's like a fine line, but yeah, we're trying to, I guess, both navigate like our own testing agenda and also like what's best practice with the platform.
Right, 100%. For the kind of last wrap-up question,
Yeah.
how does consumer behavior typically change after Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or even during the rest of the holiday season? I think this could be really helpful because I know we're focusing a lot on Black Friday right now, but I know this video is coming a little bit late potentially in the process, and I think a lot of people are going to already be thinking about how to pivot into holiday afterwards. So I think it could be really interesting. Is there any way to think about this and related to your creative strategy for the holiday season in particular?
Yeah, so of course there's going to be a bit of a drop off after Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It's the biggest sale moment of the year. But, you know, some brands are going to try and keep the party going with extended sales or maybe extending Cyber Week or from Cyber Monday into Cyber Week. That's something interesting. But then I think going back to what I mentioned earlier about like the most common types of concepts during holiday, really leaning into those gift giving moments. That's what everyone's doing, and bringing it back towards your brand and back towards your core products, I think is the way to go. Thinking about what your consumers doing at this time. I'm sure they're gift giving, but is there anything else that they're doing? Are they preparing for, you know, a trip in January? Are they that type of person? Or you know, are they like the resolutioners? Are they like a new year, new you person? Maybe there's something that you can start planting early on with your content in the December to lead up and gear up into the new year.
I really liked that insight. It's like, what are they actually doing? And I think there's easy marketing research that you can do that leads directly into that of like something I love to do is just like literally reading your Facebook comments like on the post or going into reviews on Amazon or whether it's on your actual Shopify page. I think it's really useful to try to gather as much of that, gathering that data to figure out exactly what your customers are doing and what their actual market desires are during this time. And a lot of that can be driven directly into the creative strategy messaging that you use in your ad concepts. That's huge, especially in holiday where you're trying to honestly make as much, let's call it like evergreen content, but it's not really evergreen because holiday based content, but tends to perform really well simply because it like feels like the holiday. And I think selling, like, do you have actually any advice for people who just want to like repurpose evergreen content for the holidays? Is there any cool ways that you would do that?
Of course, you can bring in like holiday color schemes, lean into like red, greens, like silvers, blues, gold. You can also take your product. You could take e-com images and create kind of gift guide type images. Take a look at Pinterest, literally search gift guides, and you'll see examples of people just using straight up product imagery and creating pin style imagery and creative. So anything can pretty much be turned into like a gift guide or gifting type of ad.
No, that's a really good insight there too. I feel like going to Pinterest is just like a gold mine, especially for the holiday season.
Absolutely. I was just using it the other day for a client, so
nice.
To get inspiration.
That was super helpful. I feel like we can wrap up, but I wanted to ask a little bonus question. How many ads do you think you're going to create this Black Friday, Cyber Monday? Do you have an estimate, like ballpark?
Yeah, I'm thinking around 75. I have 2 clients for context.
Okay.
I'm thinking around 75. I have a direct reports, so I guess technically, if we're gonna include theirs too, we're probably definitely over 100.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a lot.
that is definitely a lot. Well, you're doing the best. Thanks so much for joining. Also, so are there any final tips that you have for marketers, creative strategists before their Black Friday moment?
Start yesterday. Start as early as you can. Keep it simple. Focus on your deal. Focus on your offer. Create something that is very clear for the customer. They want to see numbers at the end of the day. They want to see that percentage off. So just keep it simple.
Awesome. Super helpful. Thanks so much, Brittany, for joining us, and we'll see y'all in the next video.
Thank you.